Brewer Nation, thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. I have Dina Paulina. She's actually was just on her podcast recently. She helps nurses, whether it's a nurse that's looking to move or work abroad. Um, this is the career coach for nurses. And Dina, we have a lot of nurses interested, international nurses, international medical graduates, but we'll focus on the nurses today. There's a
Okay.
lot, and there's a lot of career opportunities for nurses in clinical research that you
Mm-hmm.
probably discovered on your own, maybe by accident, like most people. And we wanted to get into some of this conversation today. And then you have a YouTube channel as well, Dina. So that's maybe we start with that. Tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel.
Thank you very much. Just a little bit introduction. I'm Dina. I'm an Italian expat nurse. I graduated back in 2003, so I'm a nurse. I'm 20 years now. I moved in UK in 2015, so after 12 years with experience, covered different things. Research has been always my dream, so my dissertation, in fact, was about research, but in Italy. It's not really that easy go to research for a nurse. So 2015 went to UK and start to build my career and focus on research. So I am an ICU cardiothoracic nurse. So when COVID happened, I just came back from my maternity leave and I just enjoyed the second wave of COVID. So it was very hard and frustrating, and I was exhausted because I have a little baby. I was breastfeeding, so a lot of things going on. Just a little bit backstories. When I moved abroad in 2015, I actually created a Facebook group for, especially for Italian nurses, because I am Italian. And this Facebook group grew so much, and people start asking me question all over again, the same question. And because I needed some information, I also start posting on LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn profile grows a lot. And then international nurses started to ask me questions because I used to create this kind of content related to international nursing career. Um, so at some point I said, okay, I always done music, theater, this kind of stuff when I was young. So I thought, what is the best actually thing to do to distress myself, but also help other? And I thought that creating YouTube video that answered the same question was easy for me also to answer to this question. So I just started to make video in Italian actually. So I I understood that something was happening for me for my career and that I have some mission on some point, maybe because COVID, I don't know. But yes, I decided to create at least a brand. So I decided to call this YouTube channel Nurses Move because nurses move everything a lot, move a lot, but also they move around the world.
They move
So I thought,
themselves too.
yeah, so I thought Nurses Move was a nice name. And yes, I started in Italian, doing Italian videos, but then I found the same problem in answering question again with speaking nurses. So I started to do video in English
Wow.
too.
I
And my
cannot
English
imagine doing I mean that's very commendable. I could not imagine doing a YouTube channel in Spanish or in Romanian. I, I mean, I really, that's very commendable for you to be able to pull off like it's hard enough.
is hard a
Most
lot.
people don't
Yeah,
even do a YouTube channel in their first language. They're afraid.
exactly.
So to do in your second language or maybe your third, it's commendable, Dina. And I think it's valuable because English still is more or less the universal language, especially when it
Mhm.
comes to healthcare. And it's also smart because you can attract a larger audience, including, by the way, United States,
Yes,
Canada,
it's
and
true.
A lot of the markets that your students eventually want to, I would assume the majority eventually want to move, or at least they're interested in coming to the United States. If your inbox looks anything like mine, it's nurses that want to move, just like your title of your channel says.
Yeah. And the neighbor grass is always greener. So I mean, people are looking for something special, and country offer different things. So I believe that nurses have to live and work like everybody, not just nurses. But I mean, they deserve to live and work in the place that most feel fulfilling for them. Nursing is different country to country. This is one of the things that I learned on my skin the first when I moved in UK, but then understanding by reading what's happening globally, reading the different scope of practice. So nursing can really offer so much things, and I believe the nurses have the right to choose which kind of nursing is best for them, and then live in the places, the planet that they love most. Simply like that.
Yeah, and even simply like that as well is clinical research job shortage. There's like a
Yeah.
shortage of workers, but there's a surplus of demand. And especially when you're a nurse, we have two academies. We have a CRA academy
Mm-hmm.
and then we have a CRC. The CRA academy, I tell everyone basically the same thing. Your first job is unlikely to be a CRA
Mm-hmm.
unless you are a nurse because they are even the CROs, the sponsors, a lot of times, not the majority of the time, but there are enough cases where they make the exception for the nurses, the RNs, the BSN RNs. And if more nurses knew this, which is why what you're doing is commendable and important. If
Good.
more nurses knew this, I think we'd have less stressed out nurses. Uh,
Yeah.
but then we would have more demand in the hospitals as well for bedside nursing. There's a shortage of
Yes, it's
bedside
true.
nursing also. So it's
Yes.
just a shortage all around of nursing. Why do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
think not enough people want to become nurses or what?
No, if we looking at the data of each nation, we can easily understand that we have, well, not really enough nurses. Again, depending of the nurses, okay, because there are different scope of practice and different specialty and management of nursing in different countries. But we'll say that we kind of have enough nurses. We can say the problem is nurses are sick and tired to work in this kind of condition globally, all over the globe, because we especially after COVID. I mean, COVID has been brutal, and we went through COVID. We'd really done so much, and we end up with just a clap, and this is not fair because we are human too. We are professional. We keep training ourselves. We keep learning. We really do our body, soul, and brain to the healthcare system
Mhm.
worldwide, and we're not recognized we're supposed to. So
No,
the so this is why people tend to nurses who really love. I mean, all nurses love their job, but also they love themselves, they love their family. So a lot of tend to leave
that's
nursing as a
such a good
career,
point. That's that
unfortunately.
that I have a podcast with one of my sub-investigators. He's a doctor, internal medicine physician here, Dr. Joe. Everybody go subscribe Dr. Joe show. We talk about coenzyme Q10. We talk about all kinds of things. I'm his co-host. But he said something in our last podcast. He said hospital systems, and he's talking about the US, but it might be global. You tell me if this is the case or not. You tell me if this is a fair analogy.
Yes,
Hospital
please go ahead.
system are the workers. Okay, the workers are dogs, and the patients are cattle, and the dogs are taught to herd the cattle. And that's the modern day healthcare system, at least in his opinion, because he used to work for a healthcare system, and that's how he
Well,
felt.
I actually love the analogy, actually, because if we're thinking about the time we have, the resources we have to do our job, we don't really have the time and the capability to listen to a patient, respond to the needs of our patient. When I say listen to the patient, I really need listen to the needs of the patient that are mental, physical, etc., social, cultural. But yes, and so we're not really able to deliver the right care that we're supposed to deliver to a patient. And what we really do is, yes, actually, I love this analogy.
I'm
We
gonna put a
actually
little
check,
video right here in the middle somewhere. You could just
yeah,
watch this short. It's like 30 seconds. Dr. Joe right here.
For hospitalist programs that are allowing hospitalists to see over 20 patients, 23, 25, and not simple hips and knees, but sick people, the amount of medical errors goes up. And the same happens in outpatient settings where you have a hospital board and it's basically mostly non-medical people that are making business decisions about something that is sacred. You're basically treating the workers like dogs, and then the patients are basically cattle. So you have dogs herding cattle, and that's our healthcare system. That is. I'd like to make that a patch and call it healthcare and put like dogs and cattle on it.
But when you started talking about that, the shortage of nursing, even in the healthcare, not just the research, it makes sense now
yeah,
why
absolutely.
your channel is growing and why your audience is growing and mine too, because a lot of my audience are nurses that are fed up with the healthcare system. And I think in research, you feel less like a dog, for
Yeah,
as
it's like it's exciting. Yes, it is. Yes, you just check your patient and you try to be sure that you give all the medication, you do all the therapy, you fill all the chart, and you want that your patient is still there, good patient doing what he has to do. But this is not the right way we should give care. The thing is, we are in so bad shortage. We really have a little time for each patient, which is really few minutes per hour, um, and really just a couple, maybe 1 hour per shift, which is unashamed. And yeah, so we don't have the time to do what we really want to do, the time and the resources, and we are exhausted, so we don't really want, if it's not nice to say, but please understand what I'm trying to deliver. We want that our patients still stable, nice and tight, because we don't have the time to do some extra, if it makes sense. It's not nice to say,
it
but
makes
please.
sense. But if you are a nurse that's feeling like you're being treated like a dog, there is good news for you guys and gals. It's called clinical research.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that there's someone else out there creating content. And I'm so happy you picked this niche, obviously, because you're a nurse. Uh, because the majority of nurses I talk to that do research when they moved from bedside care love the move they made.
Mhm.
There is an element of them missing patient interaction a little bit if they're CRAs, but you can always go be a coordinator. When you're
Mhm.
sick of traveling, you can go be a study coordinator and um, still get that patient experience again. So there is a possibility of a great, fulfilling career outside of the traditional healthcare, and that's within clinical research, just like you did it.
Yes, well, I actually I'm being forced to leave the ICU, cardiothoracic, because I have a chronic condition, so chronic pain. And honestly, 44 was not really able to cope anymore physically. I always loved research, so this was already my prospect of career. I really started to do some audit and some research in my unit. But at some point, I have to take the drastic decision to leave. But I only focus on clinical trial
What do you
position.
do
So
now in your role as a researcher? What do you do
I manage a
currently?
trial. We do a double-blinded placebo multicenter study on secukinumab Behçet patients, We are two centers now, Liverpool and London. I am based on London. I actually manage the research, the clinical trial in London. So I meet my patient. I help my team to recognize which is the right patient for the trial, speak with the patient. I present the trial to the patient. So I involve the patient. I help to make the right decision for them. And then I roll patient. We nearly finished the enrollment now. We're at the end. And
Congrats.
I follow the participant through the trial. Thank you. I
That's
really love it,
awesome.
actually.
So you're a perfect example of like you can go, you're a nurse, so by nature you want to care for patients,
Yeah.
but that nonstop work in the hospital setting where you're not really allowed to care for them how you know they should be cared for. In
Yeah.
research, even though ironically it's not considered care, you actually, and all of us can go out of our way to care for patients as best as we can within the confines of the protocol. A lot of our patients at my site later today, I have to go to the clinic. They're amazed how thorough we are, how much time we spend, and we're in a doctor office. So the
Yeah.
doctor's office, if we see a patient, it takes like 2 or 3 hours. For
Mm-hmm.
one, the doctor office in that 2 or 3 hour, they might have seen like 10 patients.
Yes, possible. Yeah.
And the patients are amazed, like, wow, how I've never had this thorough care and I get paid for it. At the end of the day, the patient gets paid. I don't know if in Europe it's the same thing, but here they
Nice.
get paid.
Not all the time. I work in the NHS, which is the National Health System, which is public here in UK still. And yes, we deliver free care to our participants.
Mhm.
There are few studies that I know that pay participants, but they're not. As far as I know, they're not with the NHS. Um, for my experience, at least what I learned. But yes, they're happy because I still care for them because I talk with them. I do blood tests, I do injection, talking with them if they need anything or they have a problem and give advice, help advice too. So
How do you, okay, let's say a nurse is watching and she
mhm.
is upset. She's Dina and Dan, I agree. I feel like dogs herding cattle. I don't like this. I didn't sign up when I went to nursing school for this life.
Okay.
Uh, what do I do next? Especially if I'm in Europe or like I mean, you're in the UK, there's a robust research ecosystem there. But let's say
But it's
you're in,
increasing a lot too. It's really expanding the opportunity for nurses in UK for research. So
yeah, but let's say you're not in a place like, I mean, it's hard enough in the US or UK to shift to research. Imagine if you're in like Egypt or somewhere, like what's the advice for, let's say you're in a country without as robust of a ecosystem.
we can talk
What
about
advice?
Italy because I come from Italy. That's
Okay,
not
let's
at
do
all a
Italy.
robust.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to work and research in Italy because I can talk about my country. Maybe someone will hate me, probably, but I try to say the truth. But as far as I saw, unfortunately, the healthcare system in Italy, yes, it's free, but is managed by private company, cooperative, you can say that. And unfortunately, we had several scandals that saw this company be managed by criminal organizations. So it's true that mafia is unfortunately, in the healthcare system. And research for its kind, because of how it's made, is not really compliant with certain kind of management because you have to record everything. Now, I don't want to go too far, but if you want to deliver a certain service and you need to chart everything, we don't really have a good charting in Italy. We really write few little things. So you can see the difference from Italy to UK is massive. We chart so much in UK. Britain invented the charting. So, and yeah, so this is a huge problem for research because when you do research, you need to actually record everything. If you
Everything.
record everything, you can see everything. So if you don't want to let people see everything, you cannot chart. You cannot do research if you cannot chart. This is my opinion as a seasoned nurse, come from one place to another. I love my country, but I've been very disappointed from my country. So please take it with a grain of salt. But yes. So the thing is, there are lots of opportunity in research abroad, especially if you are a nurse. So if you really want to do research, I really suggest, if you don't have that much implication, family and friends, or you have the opportunity anyway to move your family abroad, please do it, because it's very hard to do in a country where there is a lot so many resistance, because the obstacle that you have to overcome, there are too many for just one person.
Mm.
So if you really want to do research, I suggest to move abroad. Also, we know as a nurse that when we want to move abroad, we need to pass some exam, because we need to take a license to work as a nurse, isn't it? But actually, one of the paths of moving abroad, there are different paths to move abroad. One is move with another job or position, and then build the requirement once abroad in order then to work as a nurse. If you move abroad as a nurse, working as CRA, maybe you don't need your license. Yes, you're still a nurse. You have so many knowledge and competence to be able to do your job, and you are able to relocate quickly, have a sponsor, start to work, have a good position. And once you are able to implement or fulfill the requirement and pass your license exam, you actually already have so much experience in research that you are able at that point to straight away go to a position that is high and is not in a bedside space, but it is in research, managing trial, organizing. So the jump will be exponential at the point, like you jump on a trampoline.
It's
Yes.
just the same here in we're very close to Mexico. I'm maybe 40 minutes from Mexico. And a lot of the workers here, study coordinator, they're international medical graduates, like doctors from Mexico, nurses. Uh, they immigrate here. They're not able to transfer their licenses immediately, but a lot of them fall into research, and that's it. That's the career is set for them. We had one medical monitor in the United States. I interviewed her on my channel. She was a doctor in Mexico. She immigrated to the US, became a coordinator, worked her way to a CRA, worked her way. Now she's a medical monitor for a huge sponsor that does psychedelic research. And she doesn't need to be a doctor here. She makes the same equivalent, maybe more than what a doctor would make just by finding this pathway and doing what she feels like doing as far as her career is concerned. So, I'm curious if any of your students come from Latin America or if you've had any experience with.
I've got a student from America. But before go ahead, I wanted to give you some credit talking about this, because when I following your steps a bit now, but when I was creating my online program, I know that I already know I'm talking about different paths move abroad as a nurse. And one, again, is this way of moving with a different position, still in the healthcare system, so you are able to understand how the system works. But I saw a couple of your interviews, and one of was a doctor from Africa that started working. It was a long time ago, was working in the research. And so I picked this idea and I thought maybe this is possible for nurses too. And continue watching to your video. And there I realized that do research actually, which things that I love, do research abroad will help you to move abroad as a nurse without or before taking a license. So I wanted to give you credit for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I mean, look, one of the best things about research is international equivalent is acceptable. So if your bachelor's degree, you don't even have to be a nurse or a doctor. If you let's say you went to Mexico, you grew up in Mexico and you get a bachelor's degree in Mexico or in Nigeria, or, those are the like some common examples that I deal with. You move to the US, you have a bachelor international equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
You can do
Yes,
anything a bachelor's degree holder from the US can do. Nobody cares. What they care about is the experience, the industry
yeah,
experience. That's
exactly.
the
Yeah,
hard part. The
yeah,
easy part's the education. Anyone can do that.
yeah. So yes, I've got at the moment one student that from America want to come here in UK. Yes,
From Latin America? Was it Mexico or what do you remember where?
Miami, Miami.
Oh my, wow. So from the US, from Miami
Mm.
to the UK. Wow. And Miami is a great ecosystem for it's the gateway from Latin America to research industry. There's so many
Okay.
research sites there in Miami. It's unbelievable. The
She
Miami's
she's not really interested in research. She's interested in other thing, the other aspects of nursing. So this is why she wants to move from America to UK. Yes, but
okay.
in America there are lots of yeah.
So in your case, it's research is just part of it, your services. It's just nurses move. That's as simple as that for you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I understand. But a good large component
But
of it is research because you experience it yourself. That's what you're doing.
exactly. So I'm really happy. So what I do is career coaching. So general what they want to do. But of course, this is my jam. Well, yes, this is my jam. So if they want to do research, career research, I'm fully.
I
So yes.
gotcha, I gotcha. Can you give us some examples of some success stories? Maybe let's go with if you can think of like maybe not your biggest, but one of your most memorable success stories and just help us understand for the audience how they did it, whatever they achieved, so that maybe someone else can do the same thing.
So moving abroad is take time, and my program just started January 2022. I just enroll a few people at a time. I just coach one-on-one only for advice just before moving. So I cannot give all the people's story. I can give you my story,
Okay?
which I plan my move because in a way that I was able to do research at some point because what I really wanted to do my entire life. I said I give a dissertation on nursing research, how nursing research can improve care. And so this has always been my dream. In Italy, it was very difficult because didn't know anyone that can allow me to do research. Also, basically, I didn't want to be involved in certain situation. So I hold on career research in Italy until I decide to move abroad. When I decide to move abroad, I really plan my career in the way that I could do research at some point. And what I've done, basically, I choose the right hospital that could guarantee me a successful career research. And when I've done my interview, um, I specifically look for a job that allow me to do at least a little bit of experience research. I passed interview, but when they ask a question, my question was, okay, what's about my training, what's about my career, but most importantly, I want to do research. Can I be involved in research? So I've been assigned to a mentor, my manager, which has become my mentor in research because she's used to do research. So I've been assigned a certain manager because I wanted to do research. She's involved me in three projects, one of which still doing the audit. We basically check daily patient box check done by nurse, bedside nurse. So we check daily the pacemaker and we record. I do the audit and we already done the publication with that. And again, I was waiting actually job position in research in clinical care. That my manager told me that I was a good fit. So we were just waiting the money, the fund for it. But again, I had health problem. I have to leave
Mhm.
right straight away the ICU. So But the experience that I gained in that period helped me to pass the interview. Of course, I'm a
Wow.
career coach, so I know how to answer questions, but for sure, that experience helped me to pass the interview. And again, some of your video helped me too. So
Well, and I'm looking at your YouTube right now, and some of your videos looks like are helping a lot of people. I mean, here's one, a nurse's adventure from India to the UK via Saudi Arabia and Ireland.
yeah, this is my colleagues too.
One nurse fueled by a love for ICU. One nurse, 4 countries. And another one is uh this is the one that caught my eye. It was the one you had on your LinkedIn, Successful Expat Nurse Guide.
Yes.
If you're a passionate and vibrant nurse. So this is basically like this video is like what you did. This is your essentially it's your story, no?
Yes, exactly. And we won an award, a national award with the project that we done. So we do this daily pacing box check done by the bedside nurse. So the pacing box check is something they actually doctor do, at least in UK. So as an ICU nurse with a critical care postgraduate master, you can access to a special training to check the pacing box while
Mm.
attached to the patient. So you can check the threshold and other things, okay? So we trained the nurses to do the check, the bedside check daily. And for those nurses who are not habilitated yet, we have them to be anyway accountable for. So they basically are responsible for the check. So they need to call another senior nurses or a doctor to do it, but they're still accountable. So we want to reduce the threshold needed of and the dependency of the pacing box with patient after cardiothoracic surgery. And we do by again doing this check and record data, collect data, analyze data. It's still in progress, so I don't have data yet the result to share yet. But with this specific project, I've done a publication with the journal or Anesthesia in UK last year, and we won a prize. The Society of Cardiothoracic Surgery gave us the award of best cardiac team in UK. So I'm quite proud.
Wow. Well, I mean, it looks like you're somebody nurses all over the world need to connect with, even if you don't want to move, just to connect with another nurse that's in research is special enough. I think even if you took the move aspect out of
Yes,
your
true.
content, just nurse in
Yeah, yeah.
research is not, there's no YouTube channel, I don't think,
No,
on
there's not.
just
A lot,
nurse.
a lot to ask me actually, but I'm really busy with this one. And I really spend a lot of, I mean, I really love to this. But again, I help in research if it needed to.
You have you have a couple videos here. So one of them, and I'm gonna link to your YouTube underneath the video and to your LinkedIn. So anyone that wants to connect right now with Dina, just click. If you're listening on in the show notes, it's in the show notes in her LinkedIn and her YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube or somewhere else, underneath the videos, her links to her LinkedIn. Um,
Thank you.
I had a couple of questions because you have some interesting stories here, but you have somebody from Jamaica, Jamaican appointed as regional head of nursing,
Yes.
uh,
You
in
can.
England. You
Yes.
have an American nurse. This is the one you were talking about that moved to the UK. You
Yes.
have one that I think my audience will be really happy with. Nursing job in Canada. Become a registered nurse in Canada in 10
Steps.
steps.
Yeah, I need to redo that video. It's too old now. A lot of things are changed, but still
Wow.
a
Can
good
you give us
source.
like some steps now, like for the audience, the breaking news for them?
Yes, well, again, to be able to move start as work as a nurse in Canada, you need to be registered, and the registration in Canada is the longest exists.
It's the worst.
It's the worst. And they made some changes which are good now. And because of the very dramatic shortage of nurses in Canada, few region actually decide to do something very much different of what it actually the Nurses Canada actually demands. So basically, you have to register the NNAS, which is the organization that check your credential, in collaboration with GCFNS, which all of us know. Once your credentials are checked and you are fit to work as a registered nurse in Canada, you can apply to the region. You have to pass the language test, the NCLEX test, and again, depend of the NNAS report, you can either sit the exam straight away, or you have to do a course, or you need to do a shadowing work with another nurse. So depending on your assessment, you will follow different path in order to actually achieve your registration in the region that you choose at the beginning. And then you have to find a job. There's not really much agency recruiting for Canada because of the reason, because the registration for Canada Nursing Board is so long that the drop off is so high. So recruiting agency cannot see their monetary benefit in relocate
Yeah.
nurses from abroad, because it takes so long. The drop off is so high for them to actually risk the relocation, because when a recruiting agency move nurses from abroad, they pay everything up front.
Oh, so they will pay, they will help,
Yeah.
the government will help pay if
Yeah, of
you're,
course. Yeah, of course, you have to repay back by stay with them 2-3 years,
sure,
5 years.
sure.
Otherwise, you have to pay a penalty.
Uh-huh.
But yes, they pay money upfront. So nurses actually helped in relocation. But again, because the process is too long, there's not so many recruiting agencies that actually take the risk in relocating nurses, because the drop off is too high. And few Ontario, for example, 1 years ago, they have to close A&E because they didn't have nurses. So Ontario, for example, decide to relocate certain amount of nurses they open a 6-month windows where they could come without pass registration. They just ask them to come, start to work, be shadowed from seasonal nurse, and then acquire the requirement once they're there and pass the exam once they were ready. But this has happened for 6 months, short amount of time, just because they have to go up on the level with the number of nurses. I mean, yes, sorry.
There's so many questions. I mean, we'll have to do like another part 2, part 3. There's so many side journeys we can take because it speaks to the United States and Canada's, I think, failing educational system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like in an ideal world, the United States and Canada are producing their own nurses. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that opens the opportunity for the rest of the world, like nurses, and that's a good thing too. But I talked to this guy from a big pharma. He's must be in his 80s. He wrote this book. I'm a fan, Drug Hunters, and he said he teaches in a lab, PhD students. The majority of the PhD researchers are immigrants from anywhere. It's the
Yes,
US and Canada are failing, and it's creating this massive opportunity for your students, basically.
the feeling, because I believe the fees is too high, and you get debt to become someone at some point to get your degree. While in other country, the university is fairly cheaper, so more affordable, but the salary in your country is much higher. So people prefer studying their own country sacrifice something to move in your country and then work
Hmm.
and receive a good salary, and then they can actually send back money home, which is called remittance. They think that someone work in another place and send money back home is called remittance. So yes.
If if
Mhm.
you're in the US, okay, yeah, it's expensive. Like my business partner here, Jaime Valles, he's a nurse practitioner, so he went through all the steps, got himself the license, nurse practitioner, but he's still paying off his student loans, and it's
Yeah.
through his employer. Um, it's I guess it's not incentivized enough for the students in the US to pursue like some of these advanced degrees because of the cost, maybe. Uh, I'm not sure, but I think you explained it well. Like in a nutshell, you basically explained the problem really well. What about like emerging economies? I noticed here you have a country I'm fascinated with is India, and we have
But
so many
India,
students.
India is have a really good. I mean, of course, not every place in India, but they have a really good hospital
Mhm.
and nurses. I can't talk only about nurses. The nurses are very well trained in India.
Yeah.
And when they move abroad, yes, there is maybe an impairment because there is a cultural shock, and but they pick up very quickly. Even
Very.
Philippines Pinoy nurses, they study nursing in American uh, mm, background. Okay, no background. Sorry, in American. They nursing in American book English, so they
Mhm.
already know how to work in America. Okay, in printing. Sorry, I didn't have the word. So also Pinoy nurses pick up very quickly the nursing that they're going to find, at least in the Anglo-Saxon countries,
Yeah. I mean,
and
it's,
they're very good. India too, they are very good.
but I think India, like, I agree with both India, Philippines. They turn out amazing nurses here in the US and probably in UK as well, and in Canada. But India is interesting because India is on the brink of becoming a global superpower. They already are, and they're starting to develop their own ecosystem in the country.
Yes, but if they still with the same mentality, I explain you a little bit
Hmm.
context now. The hierarchy there is in the hospital is not fair.
In India?
So yes, because
Uh,
the doctor doesn't even know the name, and you find in the interviews with Shirin actually, doctors they don't even know the name of the nurses they work with in the same wards. So there's
mm,
no respect because they are social discrimination.
ah, I see.
So what they receive from the healthcare system is not in their own country. It's not comparable what they can actually find in other place. Me too. I come from Italy. There's no respect between. I cannot generalize because I meet and know incredible doctor. I have incredible relationship, but the majority of the case, the doctor is very detached from nurses,
I see.
and the relationship is really I am a doctor. I command you. You can agree or disagree. You do what I
I
want you
see.
to do.
And
There's
in the
no
UK is not like that.
no no. We are a team. We talk together about the patient. We sit down, or we during the ward round, they consult anesthetist. I mean, ICU nurse. So they ask me question. What do you think? What you don't think? Of course, depend of the experience of the nurses, like the experience of the doctor, because
Yeah,
sometimes it's the senior nurse that teach the junior doctor. So this is some countries still, I mean, some countries really are 1,500 years in the past in
that
terms
makes
of
sense.
relationship.
That makes sense because I was gonna ask you why are so many people in my inbox from India want to move to the US or Canada, and I tell them your country is like on the brink of developing like a huge clinical research infrastructure. I would be there. But there clearly is a reason that they all want to move, or a lot of them want to move.
Because there is no social or financial recognition. So this is why
Mm,
they want to move in a place where they are appreciated.
I understand.
We are really below what we should be recognized for. But certain country really is terrible. Yeah.
So I guess when we joke about dogs hurting cattle in the US health system, it could be worse.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Well, Dr. Joe, you heard it there. I'm gonna have Dr. Joe watch this video so he can see. So there you talk about so many things, culture shock, you talk about how to avoid scams, you talk
Mm-hmm.
about accelerating your career as far as being a nurse. It's a lot. I recommend this channel if you're a nurse.
Thank
I
you.
know a lot of my audience will benefit from it. So
Thank you very
everybody
much.
go follow, go subscribe. We'll have to do follow-ups too because it's not enough to get everything. Maybe we should do, because I get so many emails. Maybe we should get like one of the nursing uh individuals that email me. Maybe we can do a group interview live, like a live coaching
Oh wow, I would love
with
to.
them.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
now I know someone who's actually a nurse. I mean, I can give generic advice as far as research,
Mm-hmm.
but like my advice is always if you want to immigrate in like from let's say from India to Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and like with or without nursing background, but most of the time it's without. Just the hard part is to immigrate, not to get the job. But like that, do that first. I have no experience with that. I can't help you. But once you do that,
Uh,
that's been
is
my
that
advice. Is it it's not
yes,
good?
exact. It was that people think about, but actually it's not really because if you choose the wrong place and you don't put the right step one in front of another, you actually end up be very
Mm.
in a very bad position, very unfulfilled.
My parents did that. They're both foreign trained physicians from Romania.
Mm,
They they moved with me. I was 3. They
okay.
both are doctors in Romania. They moved to the US for more opportunities for themselves, and Romania was communist at the time. Uh, and for the first, I think, year, my mom was cleaning toilets, just doing any job she could do. Eventually they became physical therapists, and then my dad eventually got his license converted to the US, but my mom didn't. She stayed a physical therapist for her career, but you're right. Like if you just do it blindly,
Exactly. You
you
end
could
up
end up getting,
miserable.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's where, I mean,
Depressed.
I could never do what they did. Like you go from being a doctor. My mom was like top of her class in Romania.
My husband is an architect, but didn't speak good English for what it was its CV. So
Mm,
lots of recruiters called him for an interview, but he was not able to pass because of his English. Until, of course, he was able to reach the English level. But at the beginning, I worked for 2 years as a I worked double for both of us. But at some point, of course, this man he wanted to provide, so he just decided to go for each job available. He was a cleaner for
yeah.
for a few months, not that much, but he worked as a cleaner.
There's a
He's got
lot
a
of
master degree in architecture.
there's a lot of humility required
Mm,
for
yeah.
immigration, um, at all levels, but it's hurts more when you're at the more of advanced degree level, and I have a lot of respect for that, and I don't have to look further than my parents. I don't think I
Mhm.
could do anything I accomplish. I don't think I could ever do what they did, honestly. Like, that's amazing to me. So I'm so glad you're out there helping people and shining
Thank you
some
very
light on
much.
this. There's not a,
Thank you.
there needs to be more people doing this, and everybody go connect with Dina. Her LinkedIn and her YouTube will both be underneath this video at the top and in the show notes if you're listening. And we'll definitely do. I'm interested in doing like a group podcast. Um,
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get like a few students. If you're a student, nursing student especially, that's interested in this group call, leave a comment. and we'll see if we can get like 2 or 3 and then do like a group Zoom that we record for the world to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dina. Everybody go connect right now. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Bye-bye.